Hey guys, this is Mike. Welcome to Payments After Dark. Today on the show, we have Derek Henmi, founder, CEO of Vivid and Vino, and probably a few other things as well. Derek, thanks for taking some time on the show today.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm excited about it. Derek, for people who don't know you yet, your background, your history, um, how'd you get into payments? What brought you in? What's your journey been?
Yeah, a bit of a maybe a surprise way to get into the industry, but my roommate I was living in San Francisco at a college. My roommate at the time was in an adjacent industry, and he was telling me about this payment space that I had no knowledge of, no idea. Besides, I think I've used my credit card before in one of those things, but uh, over a conversation, he was like, "Hey, I think this is a really interesting space that you should look into and get into." And at the time, I was like, I've been looking for something to start up, and I didn't really know where to begin. And so I did a little internet research, and lo and behold, I not only learned the industry, but I also kind of learned how to start a company for the first time. And 7, 8 years later, here we are.
That's awesome. I mean, the so you knew from the beginning when you're in college, right? Your roommate tells you about this. You were entrepreneurial from the start. You know you wanted your own company, do something, build something, right? That was kind of always in you.
It was, yeah. My parents were entrepreneurs themselves and started a company together. So it was
I
just
love it.
always something, in the back of your mind. You're like, that's what I want to do.
It's crazy how many times, I mean, that was my journey too. When you hop into payments, you have no idea that every time you swipe your credit card, that there's money behind it. Like
Mhm.
it's just this
Exactly.
eye-opening thing. Like, then you realize that this industry is fantastic and you can do a lot with it. So tell me about that journey once you decided, okay, this is for me. I know about it. What were the early days like? What were you selling? What was the sales motion?
Yeah, so fortunately, because my roommate had a knowledge of the industry, he had some contacts, and we started boarding with an ISO out of Houston, and our primary focus was the Point Smart Terminal, if you remember that thing.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah. It was a nice piece of tech. It was kind of
Mhm.
allowed us to be a little bit more like, hey, we're going to sell tech and bring payments in versus just the VX520s, which were really actually still prominent even back then. Um, and so we always had an eye on, all right, how do we sell this tech? Our first account ever was a funnel cake stand. I don't know where it was, and actually
Awesome.
lost money on it because really didn't know how to price these things. So
Of
I was
course.
like, oh shoot, what am I doing? I just did a month's work and I lost like $13. So um, over time, kind of figured it out. But I always knew that, hey, we have to sell technology first. That was always kind of the theme of what we were doing.
And that's very prescient of you to know back then. What year was this? I think you said it was like
2017.
2017, and that was before, now, of course, you've got to sell technology, but back then, most people were still slinging VX520s, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you were ahead of the game at that point, selling
I think so.
technology,
Hmm.
building the ISO. So as you grew, we when we talked before, you started branching out into POS systems. What
Hmm.
started changing in the industry at that point? That kind of got
Yeah.
you where you are now.
I think a few years into it, we expanded our solution tool set, if you will,
Mhm.
to different point of sales, different gateways. And one by one, it was like this weird domino effect where a point of sale would get bought, or a point of sale would decide, hey, we're bringing payments in-house. We're no longer supporting our reseller channel. Even Point to that, degree, got bought by GoDaddy. And so it was a sequence of events, and it kind of turned sour too, to the point where not only did they just stop the reseller program, but they also started poaching our merchants that we actually had referred to them. So that was like a trigger in my brain saying, okay, this has got to be something we got to get ahead of.
You may or may not be surprised, but at least three of my previous guests have had that same story. I mean, it's a
Common thing, yeah.
pattern. It just, I mean, it sucks for that to happen. You lose a portfolio that you've been building for years.
Hmm.
And what do you do at that point? Like
Yeah.
how many, so I mean, what decisions did you have to make? How many times did this happen to you?
At least 4 to 5 right up in recent memory. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'd hop from one POS. Okay, now I'm going to sell this one
Hmm.
and start boarding to that POS system, selling that. It happens again, and then
Yep.
you've got to move again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was there any, because I'm curious about this. Was there any, were you able to salvage any of the previous merchants, like convert them? Because I know how hard it is to switch a POS. Like getting a merchant to do that is pulling teeth. So,
It is. Yeah. I don't think we were very successful at all because they sunk their teeth in with the tech side and they're like, I just can't move all this or that. And so nothing that comes to mind. Yeah.
jeez. And I mean, that's why you sell technology, because once you sink your teeth in, it's hard to move. And
Yeah.
that's why, it's such a great vertical to be in. And it sucks when it turns against you like that.
Exactly.
And I know now, for anyone who doesn't know what Vivid is, it's an awesome platform and we'll get into it. Um, but you decided to start building your own,
Hmm.
right? What did what did that look like? I mean, how did you I think a lot of people listening, and at least for me, it's where do I start? I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I want to build some technology. This is what everyone's doing right now. This is what I
Yeah.
have to do to get ahead.
Hmm.
But how did you make that decision to, I'm going to start here? And what was that?
Yeah, there was actually an intermediate step, I should say, before we actually started coding, doing that work. It
Mhm.
was, all right, let's find software companies that haven't really figured out the payments yet or are looking for that avenue and how to monetize, and let's partner with them and make strategic investments. So at least we have like a
Oh.
foot in the door of learning how to somewhat own the software experience
Hmm.
without needing to build it from the ground up. That gave us a really good understanding of like how the software companies worked, how they saw that side of the fence, as well as how they saw integrated payments.
Hmm.
And that was a really good way to kind of set us on our next phase of the journey, which is starting to build.
That's brilliant, actually. And I think it's a step that a lot of people don't realize.
Mhm.
The learning cycle. I've never built technology before, but I'm going to dive in. You
Yeah.
said, no, wait, let's partner with people who are experts here.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you learned a ton. I
Yeah.
love that.
Hmm.
And so you learned how you made a strategic investment so that they grow. They plugged in your payments
Hmm.
and you learned their development process. Were there any specific verticals that you targeted in that phase that you liked?
Yeah, I think the most common one, which was probably the most difficult one, was the restaurant space.
Uh,
Those were typically the point of sales, like we talked about before, that were kind of pulled out from underneath us. That
mhm,
was like the primary vertical where we had a lot of business going into, but overnight, we would lose these opportunities from a solution standpoint. So we started there, invested
mhm.
in a restaurant point of sale. Um, an amazing experience, a hard learning experience. We had to build out our own teams, which it's helped us in the long run, but our own team now, are experts in how to onboard, deploy, support point of sale for restaurants, which is probably the top of the food chain in terms of difficulty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So you became that support mechanism
Hmm.
for these partners, which is great because they need that. So you're
Hmm.
providing value to them along with a lot of other things. So
Yeah.
it probably worked well in that system. And then you provided distribution as well, right? Because you're selling that POS. And
Exactly.
you have a little bit of control. So you know they can't bring payments in-house because it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
Right. So what prompted then? Were these successful investments? Did they do well? Was there a reason that you decided, okay, now I'm going to go build stuff?
Yeah, some of the investments are still kicking and they're doing really, really well, and we continue to sell them this day.
Hmm.
Some exited, which was great. But I think there were certain verticals that we always had our eye on
Hmm.
that these particular products didn't serve and that we couldn't find partners that had it kind of already built.
Hmm.
So we were either going to just completely step away from them or, hey, this is the time to kind of build it out. So
Hmm.
that's what we ended up doing.
And when was this? When did you start that journey?
Our first kind of project, I'd say, was 23. So not that
Okay.
long ago, like a little over 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And at that point, we don't have, Claude Code building all of our
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like we could do a whole podcast on this. We've talked a lot about it, but
Yeah.
so you're building it from scratch, the traditional way.
Hmm.
Um, what were some of the, difficulties you found there? What happened?
Yeah, I think someone who's never built anything or knows how to talk the talk, it's a very steep learning curve to try and work with a dev team, especially if they're, international, to
Hmm.
try and get your ideas into reality. And not only the initial push, but like how to fix bugs, how to make adjustments and changes. It's just, it was such a grind to try and, yeah, just get what was in my head exactly the way I want it in built out. Because there's always a little bit of things here and there that you're just like, I see it this way, but I can't communicate that from a dev standpoint.
Right. Yeah, because as good as you get with Figma,
Hmm.
there's
Yeah.
still button clicks and interactions and edge
Yeah.
cases that you just can't capture there. It's a
Hmm.
lot of back and forth. And especially, we've had this issue too as we've developed product. If they don't know payments, it's very difficult to describe, that user experience.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
they've never run a restaurant before. It's hard to build a POS. They're not making those, intuitive decisions that you're like, oh yeah, that's a really good way to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got to be the guy.
Hmm.
And so and things are changing now, right? This was your first product, you got it out. And now, we're in the age of AI and I love using it. How has that changed the way that you're developing products?
Yeah, just a game changer for sure. It's flipped the script. We can build just so quickly. And kind of what we're talking to of the previous issue, which was how do I get the stuff in my head out? It's now I can do it. So I'm that actually using these tools to code or build the front end exactly how I want it to, hey, move this 2 inches to the left or change the color, those little things too. And to the point of being intuitive is like I'm designing it in my own head of how I would use it. And I'm not a developer, so it's like it's just purely like how an average person would need to navigate or how to run a certain process. So it's very human, focused, and then I'm able to just hand that over to my guys and allow them to just connect the dots and make it work and become a real tangible product. So we're kind of a hybrid approach there, but it was like this before the tools, and now we're just building whatever we want any time of the day.
It's a beautiful time for this.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
love it. And it's beautiful if you know the tools and you're using them, right? But it's a little bit scary if you're not,
Yeah.
because the speed in which you hit it on the head, like the speed at which you need to develop to stay ahead now is just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And, talking to someone who wants to develop something, knows where they need to go, but doesn't know these tools yet. I mean, where is a good place to start, in your opinion?
Yeah. So if it's someone's looking at, okay, what opportunities can I jump into? I think, probably have an inkling of like verticals that they have more success in, opportunities that maybe if they have built a portfolio, I think they should probably have an idea of like, okay, I know I got opportunities in the space, and I know based on the solutions I'm selling today that, hey, I think this solution could be better if we had it. Um,
Mhm.
or also think about potential vulnerabilities, like, hey, all my eggs are in this one basket of this solution. in the idea, like in the event they do sell or something happens, would I be kind of left in the dust?
Hmm.
And so kind of finding those opportunities, that's where I would start to look like to even begin the concept.
Okay. And if I know I've been through this process, I know there's a gap here that I
Mhm.
can fill and be successful in. How do I go and mock up my idea
Yeah.
without giving away your secret sauce? But like, where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah, it can be as simple as if you have that framework in mind of like, even if it's a paragraph narrative,
Hmm.
you put that into some of these tools, and let it kind of build out some of the creativity for you. So you can start as simple as you want and have it flush out. And sometimes it will put things in front of you that maybe you weren't thinking about. Like it'll design some stuff or add some features in there that you're like, oh wow, like didn't even think about that. And that'll be an evolution of the process. But um, just start simple and you can kind of expand from there. Just to get it, it's like writer's block, right? Just get something on paper and go from there.
That's a really good way to put it, is the writer's block, right? It's the fear of the blank sheet.
Yeah.
Just throw something out there, and the cool thing with these tools too, whether you're using like Claude or any of the other ones out there, is that nothing there is permanent. Just throw something out and keep changing it until you get to what you want.
Hmm.
And then at that point, you're pumped because you've got something cool that, people will use because you're in it.
Hmm. Exactly. Yep.
Right. Yeah. I, man, I've had some really good nights going through that. And just like you have this epiphany at the end, like
Hmm.
this is a real thing.
For
And
sure.
then, you go through we also made a good point here that, you have to hand this off to a professional development team. There's a lot of talk out there where, oh, you can build an end-to-end app that
Mhm.
10,000 people can use on an AI coding platform. It's not really the case.
Yeah.
At least in my experience, you can't do it. There's too much,
Hmm.
but you can make it simple. And sometimes, I think the hardest part about that is finding people you can trust to build it for you. I mean, how did you do that?
Yeah. So one of our early kind of investment projects was a developer and a team. And we had a really good experience working with him on kind of, we'll just call it Project One. And when we had some of these ideas come into fruition, we just approached him because we really enjoyed working with him. We knew what the quality of the work and the speed of the work. And we approached him with these ideas and said, hey, like, what if we partner even further? And you guys help us kind of continue this dev train a little bit and start building. So that's what we did.
Leveraging your network.
Hmm.
It works.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah.
someone
Hmm.
has a good development team that they like that could probably help, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I
Yeah.
agree. That is by far one of the more like the idea and like the front end is the surface. You really to implement it in a good way. Like, yeah, you got to have a good dev team to trust.
Yeah, definitely. To bring that live and then support it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Super important. So, okay, you've built these platforms. So I know about Vino, you have a restaurant POS and a few other things.
Hmm.
How, illustrate for us how that changes your go-to-market, your sales motion. What did you see happen once you built these things? So you're making this transition into more of a technology focused and a, vertical sale rather than a, hey, we're a payments company, come to us.
Yeah, I think that showed in a bunch of different ways, but I think like maybe some of the more prominent ones. One of our biggest channels has always been our ISO channel on the Vivid side, and through them, they're really our driving force of kind of why we're really pushing the tech is because they're continuing to tell us like, hey, we want to go after these or these, and we can't do it. And so we're constantly finding ways of like giving them new and better tools. But this has really been an amazing time when we've started launching these things, not only our current agents, but partners from all different walks of life, banks, larger payment companies than us, they're not all the time kind of doing this stuff, and so they're constantly looking for things to sell that they can trust and not fall into the same traps that we all did. And it's nice because we've been burned, and so we kind of understand the concept of like, all right, this is for everyone. Like we we're gonna make money. You guys are gonna make money. It's a win-win. But it's been an amazing tool for just to see other people light up about like, oh, now I can go after that vertical. I've got so many contacts in there. I've never been able to touch it. So that's been a really positive thing to see. Um, and then yeah, it's been like a mind shift too for our team, as far as just purely payment processing folks. It's like, okay, now we got to adapt and evolve into how we sell technology, how we support technology. It's a cool hybrid of kind of perspectives to have in there.
Yeah, I think you bring up a few good points there. One, it's your current agents are able to win more deals
Hmm.
because they can expand into different verticals and they have a better product to sell.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see then that all of these new partners are coming in because you've got this solution that they all want. So it's expanding on a lot of different levels there.
Yeah.
And it's iterative, right? So you're finding out now that you have this huge network, you have the best knowledge of what the needs are out there.
Hmm.
So it really it's like this cycle that keeps informing you to be a better company and it drives you, you become more and more successful that way. Um, that's really cool. And the one of the things, so I just had a question and I forgot it. So we'll move on because I wanted to touch on Vino specifically. You're winning an award at ETA uh
Mhm.
next week for Vino. Tell us about that.
Yeah, super excited about it's a top 10 ISV award for ETA. I think they're just bringing in companies that are either revolutionizing or pushing the boundaries in payments and technology. And we're lucky enough to be selected as one of them this year. So we'll be presenting a little bit about the story of how Vino got built, as well as yeah, just kind of explaining what we're talking about here, which is just like taking an idea, bringing it into reality, how we're integrating payments and how we're supporting partners. That'll be at ETA to kind of venture into this space.
So partners can also resell Vino now
Hmm.
and go after all those wineries that they're visiting.
Exactly. Yeah, everything we're doing and building, we want to make agnostic.
Mhm.
It's good for our distribution, but it's also great for them to be able to kind of attack these verticals or solutions that they haven't been able to before.
That's amazing. So everything that you're building, or Vino specifically, is agnostic. So
Mhm. Yeah.
so big processors can use it and plug their payments in. ISOs can use it and put it on their bin. That's amazing. There's not many out there anymore that are doing that.
Yeah. It's that whole thing about just like if I'm putting myself in their shoes, which I was and still really am, it's how can I have these solutions available to me and and with a partner that really I can trust. I mean, they've been in there, they've been burned with alongside me. They understand how things can go wrong, and so what we like to do is just make this kind of a friendly environment for all ISOs and all banks that we're really trying to compete against some of these companies that are like tech first and all that. So
That's amazing. I love that. And we should talk more about how I feel like, Twill could use some of those solutions for sure.
yeah,
Um, so to close here, what what are you looking for? What are you looking towards in the future? What do the next 5 years look like? What excites you?
yeah. I mean, the hype word obviously is AI and where AI can continue to improve things. We've already seen fruit from the dev side, but also actually not only helping us build the tools, but where can these tools actually use it and implement it in the actual software?
Mhm.
So we already have a lot of plans for that piece, as well as like as making these things a little bit more like continually staying on the cutting edge, continually evolving, giving information and providing features to the end user in ways that traditional software hasn't. Whether it's in reporting or in customer ordering or whatever it might be, tons of value and opportunity in that space. Um, that's from like an AI perspective. What else am I looking forward to I don't know. I guess
That's a big one though. I mean,
yeah.
that's what excites me most. I
Mhm.
mean, we work a lot in that, and I feel like we could do a whole podcast on it.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible how it's going to transform, how merchants interact with
Mhm.
your offering, with your solution.
Yeah,
It's going to change a lot of things.
absolutely. Yeah, and I'll say like yes, I think AI gives a lot of, groups like us or people if they're thinking about getting into building their own software, like it does give them the first foot forward to kind of be able to do that. If we want, this could be a whole nother conversation, but it's like that's just the surface. We talked about a trusted dev team, but it's actually the hardest parts after the product's built.
Ah,
And
that that
yeah,
is a good thing that we need to touch on.
yeah.
If you can do it in 30 seconds, what is that?
I'll do the quick preview and then maybe we can do round two later. But
Yeah, yeah, that sounds
yeah,
good. Tell me about it.
it's the implementation, the logistics, the onboarding, the support that not all ISOs can do. And we've seen this because we've worked with resellers in the past and they're just not built to support the tech side. Even if we're assisting and helping do it, a lot of it, it's just a different mindset. And so it does require the right mindset to kind of flip that way of thinking about how to approach the sale and the success of the customer.
That's a really good point because you do have to flip this mindset where you're not selling payments anymore. You're not plugging into something and just, okay, have fun, go. Right? You have to get this technology and solutions oriented mindset and team that now you're teaching someone how to use this and how it will make their lives better
Hmm.
instead of like payments is just there, which is I think how the merchants would want it anyway. But that's really difficult. It's a big change. It's
It
a
is.
great point. And I think, it ties into, we always close with what advice would you give? And this is a great point. Yeah, get to the ISV route. You've got to sell a product and play around, but be aware that there's a big learning curve here. I
Mhm.
mean, what else would you add to that? If there's, one thing that you would say to an agent or an ISO, even a big ISO that's, not doing this yet.
Yeah, I mean, so I've seen large ISOs fail at selling point of sale because, like we talked about, they're focused on the terminal. Um, yeah, it's really just about that. Again, I'll go back to that same word. It's that mindset. It's really adapting. You're no longer just a payments company, which uh, it's the things you need to do to keep that. The reason why the software and these solutions are sticky is because of all these different things, these extra steps you're going for them. You're training them on the software, you're supporting them on the software, you're giving all this extra value add than just a almost like a commodity, which is processing a payment, which anyone could technically do. So that's got to be the first and foremost kind of focus if you are venturing down the path is make sure that your customer experience and your customer journey is buttoned down and that you have the right people with the right attitudes and to tackle that problem because it is constantly problem solving.
Yeah, it is. And that mindset shift is so big because you nailed it, is the reason you're doing this is to be more sticky with your merchant. And in order to be sticky with your merchant, you need to spend time with them to really get your
Mhm.
claws into their business.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
that takes time.
exactly. Yeah.
Awesome, Derek. Thank you so much for talking to me today. This was amazing. If people want to get in touch with you, chat with you, you know, brainstorm, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can always start at hellovivid.com and email me. I'll maybe send you put my email somewhere, but it's Derek at hellovivid.com.
Mhm.
And that can lead to if there people are interested in any particular verticals or solutions or just want to chat, they can always kind of start there and we can go from there.
Sounds good. And you'll be giving a talk next week. So anyone that's at ETA, um, Derek will be there. Sit in and listen. And congratulations again on the award.
Thank
Logan.
you, Michael. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me today. Great chat.
It was a pleasure, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.